Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk about Slowdive. Slowdive are one of my favorite bands ever, and a band I really like to listen to around Christmas. We're a couple days away from Christmas, and something about their sound, I always put those in the car around Christmas time. A little bit of a different background right now, just got my Christmas tree in the back. The branches are sagging a little bit early if you ask me, but I'd never even consider getting a fake one, and I'm fairly happy with it. But no one cares about that. Let's get to the music. Slowdive are a British rock band. They formed in 1989. They put out 3 albums and would break up for many years. They would reform in 2014 with a tour, and they've since put out 2 new albums. I first became aware of them probably back in like 2004, 2005, just reading some metal magazines and seeing them referenced here and there. And the one that sticks out in my mind is seeing a reference from Leviathan and Metal Maniacs. So I downloaded Souvlaki. Then over the years, I slowly got more and more into them. And I love all their albums for what they are. I'm no Slowdive expert. Just don't really know too much about the details of the band's history. Just really into the music. Just giving my opinion. So I'm going to look at all the albums from worst to best and a couple stories along the way. So my number 5 in last place is the self-titled album, and the 4th album, the one they reunited with. This album to me just has more of a dream pop vibe than a shoegaze vibe. It just kind of felt very, for lack of a better word, pitchfork to me. This brings me back to like the late 2000s and the stuff that was being covered in there. I actually did not like this album at all when it first came out. I was pretty disappointed upon its release, and I didn't listen to it for years. But I got around to getting it on CD, and it's grown on me, but I'm still going to put it at the bottom of the list. My favorite 2 songs in here are probably No Longer Making Time and the closer, Falling Ashes. So I mentioned that they reformed and put out this album, but they did a reunion tour before that in 2014, and I was fortunate enough to be able to attend that. The Toronto date. Tickets were actually sold out, and I haven't seen Slowdive since then because it seems whenever they come to town, it always seems to be sold out. But I was fortunate enough that just looking at Twitter, I saw someone selling the ticket just at face value last minute. And so I bought it. And that ticket was actually sold to me by Chris Bruni from Profound Lore Records. So met him at the show. I'm a big fan of that label. I used to like his writing back when he wrote for magazines back in the day. So it was a pleasure to talk to him for an hour or two. But, don't get the wrong impression. I don't really know the guy. And it was an amazing show. Stood by the front the whole time. Awesome set list. And maybe a top 10 concert all time for me. So this was their reunion album. And just a couple years before that, I'd say, My Bloody Valentine, who are probably an even more so recognized shoegaze band, they put out a reunion album that I liked a lot better than this one. I feel like I'm in the minority there, but that's my opinion. I bought that on an audio download. The only My Bloody Valentine that I own physically is Loveless on both CD and vinyl. Okay, what's my number 4? Just for a Day. This was the debut album, 1991. Catch the Breeze is probably the most immediate, well-known song on here, but my personal favorites are Celia's Dream and Waves. Something about this album is a bit, it's the time, the album cover, the sound, the geographical location. I just get a lot of Cocteau Twins from here, and I'm not really a big fan of them. I definitely gave them a shot. I know Heaven in Las Vegas is their most famous material, but I kind of like that one the best personally. But most of their stuff I don't really like, and this has the same vibe as it, but I like it a lot better. It was kind of actually a close call between what would be 4th and what would be 5th, but this is what I settled on. My number 3, Pygmalion. This one was the final release before their breakup, the third album. It's mostly electronic, very little drums on here. I guess it didn't go over well at the time, but it's definitely gone down as a bit of a forgotten classic. My favorite songs on here are definitely the opener, Rudy, and Jay's Heaven. And I can't put my finger on what it is about Jay's Heaven, just something about the vibe. It brings me back to Mortis, the Dungeon Synth guy, and some of Oliver's soundtrack material. It just gives me that vibe. I don't know what it is. But I said I like listening to Slowdive Christmas. I work fairly close to home, but I go through the main strip of town where it's all, the Christmas lights are out in the downtown, the little downtown we have, and just driving home from work. It's getting dark early, just looking at the Christmas lights, listening to this album. Yeah, it fits perfectly. It reminds me a bit of Radiohead Kid A. Definitely not as weird as Kid A, but it just has this, it's very subtly weird, very glassy atmosphere. I've always kind of paired these up in my mind. Number 2 might surprise you. This is the most recent album, 2023's Everything Is Alive. It took me a month or so to get around to listening to this. I'm not sure why. I guess I wanted to get it on CD and hesitated before I gave it a good listen. Yeah, I think this is definitely the second best album. I like the whole thing. A lot of people like the beginning and the ending, the bookends, Shanty, the Slab. I like those songs, but they're probably near the bottom for me. A Life's one of the best ones. Skin in the Game's great. But my 2 favorites are definitely Kisses, the lead single, a very immediate poppy song, but a beautiful song. And my favorite for sure is Andalusia Plays. I've heard mixed things on that song, but I think that's just such a heartfelt song. It definitely hurts to listen to it, I'd say. A little bit of personal details, but you've seen my son in several videos, and he's not my only kid. We also have twin 5-year-old girls, and without going into too much detail, they both have quite a few special needs. And when I was listening to this album, I was thinking about them. So it's just like a time and a place where an album just captures you, and you're gonna love it forever. So that song made me think of them, and I find it hard to listen to. It's just so tender and beautiful. But this is a 5 out of 5 album. I think it's a masterpiece. And after the album before that, I'm glad they had a return to form. So my number 1 is no surprise to anyone, Souvlaki. This is one of my top 10 albums of all time. Allison, Machine Gun, Souvlaki, Space Station. Those are my 3 favorites. Dagger is next up. When the Sun Hits, that is probably their best known song and one of their best, but even still, I'm going to put that on the second tier of this album. But every song's great. Probably the most classic-y shoegaze thing, if you ask me. Their best known album, and 9 times out of 10, a Slowdive fan's going to recommend this one. So, Slowdive, my opinions on them, and thanks for watching. See you later.